in a nutshell, the day before this attack, President Trump was documented not to have gotten on multiple occasions from the Secret Service what they asked for. The day after, it looks like they're getting more. The day before, RFK has been denied by the president multiple times, Secret Service protection. The day after, he now has it. So now my question is the actions of a 20-year-old with a lone gunman on a roof sufficient to change the risk assessment in your mind for President Trump and RFK, or are we just realizing the threat that was always there and being more appropriate in matching it? And I know that's a little vague, but you've been at this for a long time. Hindsight is 20/20. Now that we have hindsight, is it fair to say that giving Robert F. Kennedy Jr. security, upping the security, including drones, overhead support for the president, former president, these are all things that in hindsight should have been done the day before?
Well, let me try to answer your question this way. Of course, as I said, the assessments of the level of security to be provided to individual protection.
No, I understand it's a secret service.
Yeah, but what I would say to you is that, and I've been saying for quite some time, including in front of committees of this Congress, that we are in an elevated threat environment, and we have been for some time. And that comes from a variety of it is quite frankly a dangerous time to be a prominent public official.
In regards to that, the other side has spent a lot of time talking about what people on the right have said. But there was an attempted assassination of Justice. We've had the highest-ranking senator on the other side of this body saying that there were actions, that they were accountable. We've had multiple members of Congress in both the House and the Senate berating the character of members of the Supreme Court.
Let me see you now for what you truly are.
Their decisions made, sometimes free, sometimes unanimous, whatever. Are those comments, not any one of them, but are those comments and the generation of those comments, not any one of them, those comments and the generation of that sort of, this guy's bad for democracy, this Supreme Court justice is a threat to democracy, is that the kind of thing that raises the threat level? Would you caution against it?
Well, I do believe that we've seen an increase in threats of violence. Again, that's the FBI's rhetoric, no matter how despicable it is. But despite threats of violence, we've seen an uptick in threats towards judges, among other prominent public officials, including, as you say, a case that we helped investigate involving a threat to a sitting Supreme Court justice.
An attempt.
Right. I think it's a reflection of a broader phenomenon that we are seeing in this country, where people, again, very passionate, I respect that, very angry, I respect that, but there's a right way and a wrong way to express yourself when you're angry. And violence and threats of violence just can't be it. And that's where we fit in. It's not my role as FBI director to call out particular people's rhetoric. There's a place for that, but that's not my role as FBI director. But when it turns to violence and threats of violence, that has to be treated as unacceptable, and that's the way we look at it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Director, when the FBI learned that
anything on the list?
So I want to be a little bit careful.
I need a shave.
About specific classified information, but we have been for quite some time, and I'll stick with what's in the open record. We, for some time, and I in particular, for some time, have been calling out the efforts by the Iranian government to attempt to retaliate for the killing of Soleimani by going after current or former prominent U.S. officials, and we've even had an indictment against it. And I think that we need to recognize the brazenness of the Iranian regime, including right here in the United States. And I expect that we're going to see more of it, and I expect there'll be more coming on that. I'm not aware of any threat information related to protectees that wasn't, passed in a timely way, but I can't really get into specifics here. It's my words not here. I just felt that was a question the committee didn't understand, and it sounds like you've known that for a long time, and that information was conveyed to the Secret Service. Any information related to threats against the former president, which again, as we've sort of talked about, is happens all too often, is something that we have a whole process we routinely share with the Secret Service on a number of levels in a timely way, and to my knowledge, that has consistently been followed.
I missed you terribly, my little godling. All that I ask is that you do not die on me again. Why, I don't think that I can take it anymore.
Agency under the Department of Justice, is that correct?
Yes.
And does the
love and loss.
Well, you mean a chain of command, some reporting structure kind of thing? Yeah, so the FBI is part of the Justice Department. The working with the FBI director decades reports to the deputy communications.
What do we have here?
Report to any number of people
as opposed to a
Which path?
reporting system. And you would take issue to not
I don't think that would be wise. I think the structure that we've had for decades now makes sense.
What about these?
I think there's a difference between independence in a sort of organizational structure perspective and independence in terms of the way we work. Obviously, the FBI is part of the Justice Department.
Well, reporting directly to the president would eliminate your independence, would it not?
I don't think it would help you. I mean, I've seen news reports about it. I'm not
Clear that is a game plan for President 20 days in office, correct?
I'm really not familiar with the details. I've seen reporting about it.
It is, and what he proposes to do is to force the FBI director to appoint report directly to him. That's what he wants to do within the first 120 days. He also wants to eliminate the position of FBI General Counsel. That is also set forth in Project 2025. How would you recommend that?
I think the FBI's Office of General Counsel serves an incredibly important role, including in terms of advising our workforce. We have 38,000 people. The idea of having an organization like ours, an independent law enforcement agency like ours that doesn't have its own general counsel's office doesn't make sense to me.
Well, it would seem like any proposal that would force the director to report to the president, and then there would be no legal counsel for the director of the FBI. That seems like it's an attempt to neuter the FBI and render it accountable only to the president. Isn't that correct?
Well, let me put it this way. I recognize that the FBI director, this FBI director and every FBI director before me, serves at the pleasure of the president. And that's part of our system. I was appointed by President Trump. I respect that. I think that's a part of our structure. But independence in terms of how we do our work is what matters to me. And we need to be able to do our work in a way that is free from political interference.
Well, you wouldn't be able to do that by reporting everything you do to the president and getting his authority and approval before you take action, correct?
I don't think that would be a wise approach.
And then there's even a proposal to replace many of those 38,000 dedicated civil servants who work for the FBI, replace them with a MAGA group that has pledged its allegiance to Donald Trump. What danger would that bring to the FBI if that were to happen?
Well, again, I haven't read or reviewed this thing that you're referring to.
What I say is,
but the FBI is made up of 38,000 dedicated career law enforcement professionals. It has no political appointees of any kind, unless you count me as I don't think that should change. I think that is part of how we do our work.
Being the employees of the FBI.
We're coming up on 116 years of the FBI, and that's the way it has been for 116 years.
It would be crazy to take 38,000 MAGA loyalty.
What are you babbling about? Fucking.
That program and that I use.
Someone goes back to Florida's record. Was the shooter on the FBI's radar in any way prior to the assassination attempt?
We did not have any information about the shooter. He was not in our holdings before the shooting.
No communication in any chat rooms, no CIs or confidential human sources have any interaction?
No, we've run a thorough search for the subject through all of our holdings, and he was not in them anywhere.
Were there any FBI agents or informants present at the Trump rally in Butler?
Not to my knowledge.
And Mr. Jordan was talking to you about Iran. Were law enforcement resources diverted from the protection of President Trump to John Bolton as a consequence of concern that Mr. Bolton might have been the target of Iranian aligners?
That's really a Secret Service decision. I don't know the answer to that. That's really something they would know better. What I can tell you is that there are a number of individuals. You mentioned one that brought a case, a specific criminal case for the Iranians targeting for assassination. But how
are you going to get that answer to us? Whether or not resources were diverted from Trump to Bolton? That's part of your review.
I think that's going to be part of the review by the Inspector General.
The Inspector General of DHS, right?
Of DHS and the outside people.
I think that's an important point because the Inspector General for DHS has really fallen out of favor with the administration because he's been pointing out all the problems on the border. Mayorkas advised that we're always kind of worried that they're about to fire him. It should be a really bad idea now that this role that you've identified is so critical. It'd be a bad idea to fire the IG for DHS during the seasons, right?
I don't think that would be a good idea.
I'm with you on that. So I want to do now. How long did you brief President Biden?
You mean on this case?
Your role as that guy.
I mean, I don't know that I can give you a number.
Is it like weekly, monthly, daily?
It's not at a regular cadence. There have been times where there have been months at a time when I haven't, and then there have been times when several days apart I have. It's always with other people.
The vice president, is she typically there?
Often has been.
So when did you notice his decline?
In my interactions with all my interactions were
right, but I mean his cognitive decline. I don't say he treated you unprofessionally, just maybe not picking things up as he is.
Again, I don't speak with him very often. What you're describing is not something that I've observed during my interactions.
I mean,
first.
We've had it observed so often that the ranking member and Mr. Schiff on this committee said that he could no longer continue as a candidate. And so, since you're the FBI director, I was just sort of wondering, like, who's running the country? Like, if something bad happened, you have to go brief President Biden about it right now.
And on any number of occasions, I have briefed the president, and I said those briefings have all been uneventful and unremarkable.
Well, I can imagine it being uneventful. But in the work where the vice president's also present, like you say, there's like more than half the time there's these briefings, she's there too?
I don't know if I'd said more than half the time. Certainly, there have been times where she's been present, there have been other times where she hasn't.
I take you at your word when you say this is the most complicated threat environment you've ever observed over a long career in law enforcement. And I'm just kind of wondering, this assassination attempt, invasion of our border, with all the Hamas that have been let in, talking about, freaking out. Find them. And if he's not up to it, and you're a guy who's been regularly briefing, like, who's been in on this conspiracy to hide the real Joe Biden from all of us for years? It never occurred to you that this guy wasn't up to it in all these briefings?
As I said, my briefings with the president have all been completely fine.
Were they between 10 a.m. and
He's
4
asked
p.m.?
questions. There hasn't been anything of note in the area that you're talking about.
Yeah, did you ever have to brief him before 10 a.m. or after 4 p.m.? We hear those are his good hours.
I've certainly times that I have briefed have included outside those hours.
Is my hair sticking up?
I think the American people want to know how we got to this point. Someone who's so diminished his own party has basically put him out to pasture. Since you had close proximity and the vice president had close proximity, I'm just kind of wondering if you were being straight with all of us about how things were going. I guess we'll have to figure that out.
You can count on me to be straight with you, sir.
We'll see.
Gentleman yields back. Gentleman from Tennessee is recognized.
Thank you. Firstly, I'd like to recognize the unfortunate fact that our colleague and my colleagues, side-by-side mate for many, many years in this committee, Sheila Jackson Lee, is no longer with us. She was a great member of America.
What do you know, a hellfish?
Great. Secondly, I'd like to say to the FBI director that there was remarks made when you were introduced to me, remarks saying that people don't have great faith in the FBI, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I have great faith in the FBI. And I think most of us on this side of the aisle we appreciate your work.
Well,
appreciate your being
can
here.
we really keep the
Some on the
personal
other
and
side
the
of the aisle
professional
cast
completely
aspersions
separate like this,
upon the
mate?
FBI and
It's with mixed
law
emotions that I
enforcement.
fight you to the
They
death,
don't
only to be
support law
happy to see you
enforcement.
back at the
That's
house.
their business. I support
Then
law
learn to keep your
enforcement.
emotions
The
in
FBI is
check.
the top
You
rank
keep them
law
bottled up a
enforcement
while.
department. So
They'll be
thank
that
you
much
and
stronger
all
when
your
it's time to let them out.
Secondly, some questions about the FBI making weapons. Did President Biden ever ask you to get involved in the case of Orlando, Florida? Kevin McCarthy says that Mr. Yates investigated for some second involved in the 17-year-old girl. The president or even Hillary Clinton and Mr. McCarthy has suggested weaponized you trying to get you involved. Those are good things. Butler, Pennsylvania, I read something about a ladder to get up on the ladder.
So we do know that he purchased a ladder. I think if I recall correctly, it's about a 5-foot tall type of ladder. But importantly, we did not find the ladder at the scene, so it's not clear that he used the ladder to get on top of the roof.
I don't think
We're still digging into all that, things related to the ladder and his access to the roof. But he did buy a ladder, but the ladder was not found at the
me,
scene.
Father.
ladder didn't have any
Keep
feet on
things
it.
hold power.
It didn't walk off. Go ahead. Thank you, sir. There have been a lot of threats against public officials. We've seen Mr. Scalise terribly shot. We saw Gabby Gifford shot and other congresspeople. Many of us have had death threats. The FBI has made aware of
Let's go up.
to help protect us. Appreciate that greatly. But we've also had election officials and poll workers threatened. What is the FBI doing in consultation with other law enforcement to ensure every eligible voter can safely and confidently cast a ballot this year?
So when it comes to threats to election workers in particular, we participate in the election threats task force that DOJ set up. We also, and there have been quite a number already of arrests and convictions under that task force. We have got a number of investigations underway that involve all kinds of threats to election workers, ranging from online threats, even some mailing, fentanyl. So there's been a number of types of threats to election workers. These are, after all, people are putting in their own time for the good of the country to try to help us have a functioning democracy. And so the idea that they would be targeted with violence is just outrageous. We are sharing information with election officials about things to be on the lookout for. We have election crime coordinators and all that.
You'll be prepared for election day with additional FBI will be looking out for. Yes, thank you. Jeffrey Epstein.
been in the news a lot lately about it involved certain people, high in politics involved. Did the FBI conduct a raid on his townhouse in New York when he was incarcerated in New York? It was a raid on his East Side townhouse.
Well, I don't know about a raid. I know we executed a number of searches in the course of our fairly extensive investigation.
Can you tell me if during that search you came across a damn that FBI other individual you might be compromising?
Yeah, I don't know that there's anything I can share related to that. I can see if there's information we can provide. We can get back to you on it.
If there were cases he was prominent position, friends of his, possibly compromised position, I think it's right to see.
You found me, Artemis.
Well, I mean, how we handle evidence recovered in a criminal investigation has all kinds of rules that apply to it. I recognize the intense public interest in the subject, but we'd have to follow our rules. But I'm happy, like I said, I'm happy to follow my team.
Not that I can even.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your service, and
you know what I mean, right?
thank you for being here today.
Gentlemen, yield the last 5. Chair now recognizes the gentleman from Arizona.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director Ray, for being here. How many shots did the shooter fire?
Well, we know that he fired at least 8 because we recovered 8 cartridges.
Okay. And are all the cartridges and the unspent bullets that they've been...
Remain
you know how many there are count for all of them?
We believe we have again. There's lots of work still on. Yes.
And if you covered shells or matched shooter fire?
My recollection is yes.
Useless. Did you conduct an analysis that confirms that?
Nice.
Well, we work with ATF, but yes, so some of the work has been divided up.
And how many shells casings were recovered from the location of the counter snipers?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the last part.
From the counter sniper location.
That I don't have the answer to either, I think.
Did blood tissue pattern of the shooter, did it match stories or the witness testimony that you posted?
I'm not sure I'm following the question.
Well, I assume you've interviewed the counter snipers, you have that evidence, and other witnesses describing the kill of the shooter. And I'm wondering if the blood and tissue and brain matter is consistent with the testimony that you received. In other words,
In terms of the manner of death?
exactly, is that physical evidence consistent with where the shot?
Yeah, so the autopsy was handled by state authorities. My understanding is thus far that's fully complete. Not totally unusual, but so far nothing remarkable on that front.
I have to say, the barge of death is never named.
Well, that's something right now that I can't tell
Olympus, I accept this message.
Haven't yet found anybody first-hand observation of him with the weapon walking around before him. So that doesn't mean he wasn't, obviously, but the collateral stock is potentially very significant feature that might be relevant to that.
Did he have a scope?
I believe so, but I just didn't see
Mention. It said the big words, just
travel during the air. But if it is flight path on the day of the ground, and that's how we know that for about 11 minutes, from I think it was around 3:50 p.m. to 4 p.m., somewhere in that range, he was flying the drone on the flight path about 200 yards away from where the public would ultimately be. So that primarily drone, say 200 yards again, back would have shown like others, don't like giving him a rear view. Except again, wasn't flying it overhead while
Olympus may accept this message.
What he would have had with the drone, he would have been able to assess kind of what Mr. Sajak has already said, been able to assess that angle from as well, forward and backwards.
Well, certainly going towards the public. Again, we're still trying to figure out exactly what he saw, because we're having to, in effect, because there's no reporting of what he saw during the 11 minutes.
What else is there?
You know, our hypothesis at this point, the experts think he would have been live streaming it. So we're trying to, in effect, say, okay, well, this is a flight pattern. Given these capabilities of the drone, what would you have seen? What could you have seen in 11 minutes? Again, it wasn't over the stage, kind of the public rally, 200 yards away, but it looks like it's looking, let's say, for a Lakewood football building, so towards the public. Great, thank you.
How many separate times was the shooter on the premises?
So again, with the caveat that we're continuing to do work on it, we believe that the first time he traveled
Power of the gods.
to the grounds was, I think, a week before. He spent roughly 20 minutes there. Then he went to the grounds again on the morning of the event, it appears, for about 70 minutes, I think. But again, I'm not qualify that. I'm not really sure of that part. And then he came back in the afternoon. So that would be, I guess, the third time.
We'll have to catch up some other time, Bernie, as I'm in a bit of a rush.
That included our ability to access it.
You shall become unseen.
But not all of them yet. And then within his various accounts, we've been able to get access to some of them, but some of them we're still waiting on. Some of them we may never get access to because of the encryption issue. That it presents an increasingly vexing barrier for law enforcement, not just the FBI, but for law enforcement all over the country. but we're still drilling into that. We have some information. Some places we've been able to look. Some places we will be able to look. Some places we may never be able to see, no matter how good our legal process is. But that's what we're looking at right now. In terms of what we've been able to find so far, a lot of the usual repositories of information have not yielded anything notable in terms of motive or like ideology. Having said that, it does appear fairly clear that he was interested in public figures, kind of more broadly, and I think this is important, that starting somewhere around July 6th or so, he became very focused on former President Trump and this rally. And so one of the things that I can share here today that has not been shared yet is that we've just in the last couple of days found that from our review, to your point about devices, analysis of a laptop that the investigation ties to the shooter reveals that on July 6th, did a Google search for, quote, how far away was Oswald Kennedy? So that's a search that obviously is significant in terms of his state of mind. And that is the same day that it appears that he registered for the Butler rally.
And when you say that his electronic holdings indicated an interest in different public figures without revealing anything you're not comfortable revealing about those public figures, can you tell us anything generally about them?
Let's slay some heroes then.
Well, a couple things. First, the images that we've used what we call cached searches. So if you do search for specific photos on it, those searching for him, searching for specific getting as far as take that, there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of activity so far, other than these, all
time to mix up my
people,
style.
but they cover both parties, they cover both U.S. people and even some foreign public officials. So that part doesn't appear to that one information doesn't appear to be overly indicative of motive, other than interest in public figures. But that could be just because he was reading news stories. So we're still trying to and that's why all of these outstanding legal process we're waiting for his names. Any one of them.
Has to be the last of this lot.
Ask and answer. Nope.
The information I just described only particularly indicative of the party.
Excellent.
It's all right. But again, that not
Something I can use.
connect in a way that might be more meaningful. But I'm sharing that piece of information with this committee and with the American public. But I think it's important that we put kind of qualification. This does not appear to be some kind of target list or something like that. This is cached images from running searches of news stories. And again, there's nothing at the moment that is a pattern of that particular piece of information that is in the It's back to California.
Just don't go starting any wars you don't intend to finish.
I stand by my prior testimony, and in fact, just in the last month or so, we've conducted a significant series of arrests. I say we, our Joint Territorial Task Force, is working working with ICE,
Well,
a number
you're
of
back, short one. Your prince,
with
whatever
suspected
they call you,
international terrorism
are not much
ties,
for
but have
formality.
also been very vocal about the fact
Not much for us
that,
either here, Asterius.
since
Though,
this is really since
speaking
the
of
last
which,
time
how would
I
you prefer to be
appeared,
addressed?
before you,
The Minotaur, the Bull of
that we are
Minos?
increasingly
Those aren't
concerned
offensive to
about
you, are
the
they?
possibility
They
not
don't
just
mean
of
anything to me.
foreign
They
terrorist
mean something to
inspired,
others. I
very
have my
much,
name.
very
You
much,
know it. Use it if you want.
even the potential for
Now,
coordinated
enough.
foreign terrorism.
Which is that, unlike the 9/11 attack, again, I was in FBI headquarters on the day of 9/11, and so I remember it vividly, and I've spent plenty of time in the period after that in my prior
I imagine it's
positions
less often
engaged
that
with
the
the
stuff go
families
all
of
the way from
victims.
there to here and back. What can I say? You make me proud to be a member of this family.
And frankly, also the missile terrorism threat is a focus on, like what you're talking about, what I would call soft targets, which is really for the American people's benefit, just intelligence community speak for where everyday people live in our everyday lives.
Like terrorist groups have now infiltrated our country that you're tracking.
Well, I don't know that I would say infiltrated. We have investigations as we speak that relate to ISIS and its affiliates. We have investigations as we speak that relate to Al Qaeda. We have investigations as we speak that relate to Al Shabaab. We have investigations as we speak that relate to the Iranian proxies, Hezbollah, and so frankly, even the IRGC Quds Force itself.
What foreign criminal gangs are now in our country?
I never felt like I could be myself with everybody on this mountaintop, you know? So much posturing and bickering, and I just head out to the woods most of the time. Maybe you understand me better than the rest. I've no idea still. But I appreciate you've made attempts to try.
In the name of Hades.
A lot of gang violence.
And I'm concerned about those who we've allowed through the southern border, where they are now posing vetting the southwest border is adequate to ensure that the terrorists or gang ties are not being released.
guy comes in using that data, and there's no reason to get.
That's good.
Well, I don't know, absolutely. We may come across some other things. I mean, one of the key parts.
What now? That one's reality.
We assess that the Russian government continues to want to influence and in various ways interfere with our democracy, with our electoral process. In fact, just in the last few weeks, we announced a significant disruption of a generative AI enhanced social media bot farm that was designed to be an influence operation, and some of the fake But certainly what I would tell you is it's not just the Russians. And I think that's important for people to know, too. There's a lot of attention to the Russians, as there should be. But we also know, you may recall that in 2020, Director Ratcliffe and I announced an effort by the Iranians to try to interfere. And then more recently, we've had indictments related to China. 34 Chinese MPS officers creating fictitious personas, posting false information online, full of narratives designed to sow divisiveness, discord, undermine us. And I'm talking about narratives that they were pushing, again, purporting to be Americans, but actually Chinese MPS officers. For example, trashing any suggestion that COVID left or trashing
Yeah, some. Oh no, it has absolutely been the answer. Have you not hear about the fucking war that we fucking won the fucking goddamn fucking independence? You stupid fucking cunt.
Olympus calling.
Oh, shut up.
You know, that really goes to the security posture, which is the subject of the DHS Inspector General review and the outside panel. You say probably I have to believe that number, but I don't have that number. Our focus is on the shooter and his attack. The shooter was able to get 8 shots off.
Whichever guard I don't pick won't be pleased.
Bless you, Zagreus.
It's an AR style. That means one trigger pull.
Got anything else?
Essentially. You like to shoot? Do I? Yeah, yes.
Nephew, is this all some sort of jest?
I'm not going to try to
say one that I appreciate.
Sort of firearms expert, but fire a variety of weapons.
Bro, shut the fuck up. Bro! Shut up!
Faster, slower?
He was able to get more rounds off more quickly than he would have with other kinds of weapons.
And that's my point, is that we can add additional resources to protect. The people who went to that rally deserved to be protected from gun violence, just like the students at Parkland deserve to be protected from gun violence, just like the babies at Sandy Hook deserve to be protected from gun violence. So we'll devote more resources. We've added a presidential candidate who is also now protected. But if we're being honest with ourselves,
we have armed this country to the teeth. And we have allowed the most dangerous people to have access to the most dangerous weapons. I say that as a parent of a 7-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 2-year-old, the two oldest who've done multiple mass shooter drills in their classrooms. I say that as a brother to 2 police officers who walk a very violent beat. And I say that as an elected official who believes that my colleagues deserve to be as safe as I deserve to be when we are at political rallies. And so we really need to step back and think, if we allow these weapons to be in our country, can we truly protect our elected officials? And can we truly protect, most importantly, our children and the next generation? I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. It is good to have Mr. Mass back with us today. Some of us had a chance to go to Kentucky over the last week. Thomas and his family. They're all kinds of spirit. Glad to have Mr. Mass back with us. It's like that. Thank you, Chair. Heard to Ray, how many shot that took out the would-be assassin?
I don't have the number of counter snipers. I know it was a counter sniper who took the shot that eliminated the shooter. We conducted a number of interviews, including of him. So it was one of the 2 that we see in the videos on top of the roof, or was it a different location? I'm afraid I don't have that at my fingertips here. Okay. You mentioned that business bought a 5-foot ladder. You have the credit card evidence of that, but it looks like on the scene there was a larger ladder. Let's see. Do you know which ladder he used to get to? You have possession of a 5-foot ladder, another ladder. You know how the smaller ladder got to the scene. Well, this whole business about the ladder is something we're really into more. We do have possession of the 5-foot ladder that he purchased close in time to his attempted assassination. That we traced the purchase of that ladder from a receipt, a bloody receipt he had on him at the time his body was recovered on.
Delicious.
We do not yet know for sure how exactly he got up looking at
pumped up.
Various forensic pieces of kind of evidence that together is forthcoming.
Now, do you know where the 5-foot ladder was found? Was it near the roof, or was it still his vehicle?
Neither.
Rematch.
I don't have it in front of me, but I know that it was
me again, Asterius. I mean, just like before. You must forgive me my indecencies of late. This blasted fiend, his lies and treachery get right under my skin. Or the phantasmagorical equivalent.
Swear something to me, King. That you'll discard your fears about a bond. The short one here is never going to break it. He doesn't even understand it.
That is a question
the only one who can break it is you yourself.
Oh, my dear friend Asterius, I see, of course, you're right. You're right. You're right. And I solemnly do swear to you indeed that I shall never again doubt our brotherhood, nor shall I ever listen to this fiend. Together, now and always.
Right, we're doing lots of different kinds of cellular analysis.
Well, glad that's settled then.
You have a lot of nerve, Hellspawn, but little else.
That doesn't mean there's not any.
Thank you for that.
You suggested that was the record on January 6th.
That'll teach him.
If the president were correct,
thank you for your support, my shade. Be seeing all of you next time, all right?
I would take it very seriously, yes.
Yes, you won't give me quite that
Do you have any leads in conjunction with the correction of this gallows? We have a picture here on the screen, if you can show it. Again, it's just up there. There's an individual here. You see here this gallows was been arrested and we identified this person. You know, I don't know that I can speak to this specific person. The gallows in the picture, the image. We have had, I think, 850 people pled guilty to crimes related to January 6th, and I think, another 180, I think it is, convicted at trials. So I can't believe some of them merely for going into the Capitol. But here, the participant suggests that individual in Vice President Pence, which seems like kind of a wild claim myself, given the construction of those galleries. But if we are to take him seriously, or even if we aren't, let me just finish by saying this. We have no leads. We're not sure if anybody who erected those galleries was arrested or is being investigated. Were there any confidential sources involved from the FBI or any other agency in the erection of those galleries? I'm not aware of anything like that. All right, thank you. Then we'll yield back. The lady from Boston.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome, Director Ray. Political violence of any kind is dangerous, unlawful, and totally unacceptable. Just as we all watched and unequivocally condemned
I'm almost to the top.
Assassination attempt on our president, I wish that we could all come together to unequivocally